Hi, my name is Dominic Torres, and today I'm going to be showing you a presentation on how climate change affects social justice. Climate change is the alteration in long-term patterns and statistical averages of meteorological events. Some people may ask, what is climate change? Well, prior to this project, I thought climate change was the increasing temperatures in certain parts of the world and the decreasing temperatures in other parts of the world. I've come to find out that climate change has many other impacts in the world we live in, such as the spread of disease and the rise of sea levels, and many others. Although climate change affects everyone around the world, it largely affects indigenous people and people of the lower income class. Many indigenous people live close to water sources, whether it be lakes, rivers, or oceans. This puts them at a higher risk of rising sea levels, loss of sea life caused by climate change. What are some of the things that cause climate change? Well, let me tell you. Burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial agriculture cause the planet to warm. This causes ocean acidification due to the pH of ocean being lowered. This affects the ocean's plant and animal life. With climate change warming the planet, sea levels start to rise. Global warming causes glacier and ice sheets around the world to melt. Not only does this add more water to the ocean, it also pushes down the heavier salt water, thereby changing the currents in the ocean. In many lakes and rivers, less and less fish are being caught. This is due to the water getting warmer, causing for a shift in fishing seasons. It also causes an increase in infectious bacteria and parasites that affect the wildlife. A shift in fishing seasons affect many people's lives. Imagine you're a small family and you're depending on a good fishing season when all of a sudden a shift happens and then there's little to no fish. You start to panic because you don't know how you're going to support your family. Most people have to relocate away from climate battered areas, which can be very difficult due to high cost and limited money needed to relocate. Climate change affects the way people get and store their food. Without cold, the ice on rivers and coastlines is thinner and travel becomes dangerous, making hunting, fishing, and other activities hard. This is a big problem for indigenous people because they rely heavily on limited resources the land has to offer them. Indigenous populations are greatly affected because their physical, mental, intellectual, social, and spiritual well-being is tied to the natural world. As temperatures rise due to climate change, harmful algal blooms outbreaks are to become more frequent and severe. Harmful algal blooms occur when algae and cyanobacteria grow out of control in bodies of water. This overgrowth can produce toxins harmful to people and animals in water by severely depleting oxygen when they decompose. Permafrost is frozen ground that restricts water drainage and it influences water flow and affects the design and maintenance of infrastructure. In Alaska, permafrost is under 80% of the land. Climate change, increased temperatures lead to permafrost thawing. This causes surface instability, sinking of infrastructure and buildings, and impairs human and animal movement on the land. Climate factors that cause more frequent and intense wildfires include warmer, little to no precipitation, low humidity, and high winds. Longer summers and high temperatures can be a recipe for larger fires. Climate change has been a key factor in increasing the risk and extent of wildfires. Wildfires' risk depend on a number of factors including temperature, soil moisture, and the presence of trees, shrubs, and other potential fuel. All these factors have a strong direct or indirect ties to climate change. Climate change enhances the drying of organic matter in forests. Wildfires also simultaneously impact weather and the climate by releasing large quantities of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fire particulate matter into the atmosphere. Resulting air pollution can cause a range of health issues, including respiratory and cardiovascular problems. With climate change causing the sea levels to rise, floods occur and cause major damage to small communities. Floods destroy many buildings and wildlife habitats. This leads to the population being in shortage of food, fuel, shelter, and water. With the roads being flooded, help and transportation becomes impossible. Floods generate outbreaks of diseases, a change in soil composition, and migration of animal species. Crops are also greatly affected by flooding. Even after flood waters recede, crops continue to suffer damage. Flooding doesn't only weaken plant defenses, but also causes them to suffer increased disease problems. Low-income communities struggle to rebuild after natural disasters such as flooding. Climate change increases the odds of worsening droughts in many parts of the world. Warmer temperatures increase evaporation, which reduces surface water and dries out soil and vegetation. Severe droughts can affect water supply, agriculture, transportation, energy, and public health. Droughts also cause an increase in the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. Climate change has a big impact on human health. There are many factors of climate change that affect people, such as the water quality, severe weather, air pollution, and extreme heat. Water quality impacts human health because it can cause cholera, harmful algal blooms, and other diseases. Severe weather can cause injuries, fatalities, and mental health impacts. Air pollution can cause asthma, breathing problems, and other diseases. Extreme heat can cause heat exhaustion, heat cramps, heat stroke, and death. Lower income communities tend to live in old houses that are crowded and have poor insulation and no air conditioning. Constant exposure to poor air quality can cause numerous health problems. For these communities, this is a problem because they have a lack of resources such as medicine. Poor communities that live in risk-prone areas face cumulative exposure to multiple pollutants. Older adults are vulnerable to extreme events that cause power outages or require evacuation. Low-income families are at risk of physical and mental illnesses during flooding and in crowded shelter conditions. A warming planet creates a wide range of risks for businesses, from disrupted supply chains to rising insurance costs to labor challenges. Extreme weather events have a direct impact on 70% of all economic sectors worldwide. Facilities are being damaged and workforces disrupted. Climate change related events have led to dramatic interest in insurance costs. Another factor is the product being damaged. Fisheries are losing money because of the absence of fish due to climate change. Agriculture has always relied on the climate to thrive. With high temperatures, crop yields will decline. Many weeds, pests, and fungi thrive under warmer temperatures. With loss of food and crops, prices increase. Communities start to struggle because of the increase. Using advanced climate and agriculture modules, scientists found that the change in yields is due to projected increases in temperature, shifts in rainfall patterns, and elevated surface carbon dioxide concentrations from human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. Rising global temperatures are also linked with changes in the frequency and duration of heat waves and droughts, which can affect crop health and productivity. Higher temperatures also affect the length of growing seasons and accelerate crop maturity. Climate change affects social justice in many ways. We need to come together and solve it, whether it's by making programs, volunteering, or reducing your carbon footprint.
If everybody does their part, we can stop climate change.